Everybody wants to know, what was working with Kanye like?
He's the last great European composer accidentally dropped in the body of a 21st century American Negro. So it's kind of like trying to run Skynet on an Atari. You know, I heard something about Ben Shapiro that I swore that I would not share, which I'm about to.
Shame on Penn State admin for platforming these neo-fascists.
The 45 minutes all we're talking, so you can then have your little...
As using student funds.
Sit!
Oh, God,
Ma'am, you are a parody
oh, God,
of everything.
We're going to start with our lawyer, Jonathan Gross. He's going to kick things off with a brief introduction. So, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Nice crowd. We have a two great presenters coming with us tonight. By the way, if I introduce myself, my name is Jonathan Gross. I am the lawyer for Uncensored America. Very, very proud to do that. And before we begin the program, I want to thank all you guys for coming out tonight and being part of this event. As you know, college campuses, you hear in the news, and you guys see it firsthand that they're coming after free speech. And because of students like you who want to hear people that they don't want you to hear, that is the future, and so we applaud you for that, and I'm proud to be part of this tonight as well. So we're going to have a great program. It's probably going to maybe cause some fireworks between these two great personalities. First of all, we have with us tonight Martin Shkreli. I'm sure he needs no introduction, but obviously was a very controversial personality, a entrepreneur, recently got out of prison. He was in prison for a couple of years. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about him tonight, and I'll introduce him right now. Everybody, Martin Shkreli. And then somebody who needs no introduction, especially here at Penn State. He's been here before, and somebody who always causes controversy wherever he goes, MILO Yiannopoulos.
Is it like you know when people say strap?
Yeah.
So if you're white, you say Shkreli, and if you're not, you say Shkreli. Is that what?
Did I say that correctly? Shkreli.
That's fine. Yeah.
Well, if you're not white, you will say Shkreli, like you did. Okay.
It's a very subtle black joke, I think.
Shame on Penn State admin for platforming these neo-fascists. Shame on everyone here for coming to listen to this. Shame on Sean Semenko, who is not a student, who is organizing here.
It's pronounced Semenko. It's pronounced Semenko. It's Sean Semenko.
Americans for freedom are all platforms.
Hey, I'm pro-Palestine. I'm
pro-Palestine too. I think we're both pro-Palestine.
No, actually.
This is
No,
great
I'm
content.
pro-Kamala. She's right about me.
You will stand for it. I am pro-Kamala. Vote for her. I'm with her.
She's right about me. I am sexist and racist and homophobic. All right, darling, you've had your moment now.
Transphobic, right here. Super transphobic.
No, I am.
Not me.
In fact, I am so transphobic. I was about to ask.
Is that
I was about to ask.
By the way, we are going to have a Q&A after the event.
Oh, she doesn't have the self-control to wait for that.
Probably.
Okay, I think we're done. We can remove.
You know what I love about this? She waited 45 minutes with the crowd to be part of it.
I mean, seriously, if you want to sit down,
The 45 minutes you should have waited was the 45 minutes all we're talking. So you can then have your little.
As using student funds.
sit.
Oh, God,
Ma'am, you are a parody of everything. All right, let's give her a round of applause, everyone.
The problem is, there are shortages in America at the moment of a variety of different medications, and I know this from Adderall. But she, of course, she's very low on lithium, and having to take about very low on lithium, and she's having to sort of space out the dosage. And it
I
just,
tried to raise the price on that too.
Yeah, it was good. Good job. She doesn't have AIDS. Somebody said to me, populism. Nothing says populism like raising the price of HIV drugs by 5,000%. I said, what's not popular about bullying homosexuals? Absolutely nothing. So anyway, sorry. This is your. Sorry.
Well,
always take over.
That was a great introduction, I think, and I think that she illustrates
Says it all pretty
exactly
much,
why we're.
No, I have nothing
why
but
we're here
compassion
tonight.
for these people. Have you noticed, like, if you see these videos, like, they're getting worse. Like, it's now, I mean,
You think?
When I moved here, I thought, okay, so 10% of this country is completely fucking crazy. Like, 10% of America is just crackers. And it seems now to be more like 40. Post-COVID, it's now like 40, like 4 in 10 people you just sort of wouldn't want to be sat next to, like, ever on a train dinner.
I think it peaked with BLM with the Pelosi kneeling thing. That was the absolute top.
I loved
social
that.
justice.
I loved it because the tribe or whatever it is, who's
Kenti Club.
Who's Kenti? That was that's nothing to do with us. They just Googled for something.
I wanted to ask you really quick.
Well, you can at the end, but there's no greater sin than rudeness, and you're being rude.
Wait, just wait.
I need you.
You can wait for half an hour. Like
you're
we're
demonstrating.
gonna do Q&A.
You are
think
demonstrating. Yes, you know
No,
There's a
give
Q&A
it
at the end.
15 minutes.
Okay, well, now I've heard your question. I can't help but answer it.
Sit down.
You have demonstrated a lack of.
No, you will not. I went to jail for 4 years. You don't talk to me like that.
You are demonstrating. You're demonstrating a lack of self-control.
With your husband, or do you?
No, I'm afraid he's moved.
Are you
out. He's
divorced
moved
yet,
out.
or do you? What? I don't care. Like, does he actually believe in what he's?
We'll talk. That's what we're here to talk about.
The scary thing for you is yes, and the only disappointment.
Why do you believe?
But you have to go now. You have to go now.
Just be
You have to go
patient.
now. Well, you see the lack of self-discipline and self-control tells me the question is going to be bad, and of course it was.
Bottom. Shut the fuck up.
Yes, I do think about that sometimes. Somebody said to me on Twitter today, they said, you shouldn't be so rude about Puerto Rico because this is why kings, since time immemorial, have been hostile to Catholicism because rich people do not want to kneel next to poor people. I said, I used to blow blacks for 30 years. What are you talking about? I don't want to kneel next to poor people. Sorry. It's a bottom joke, I'm sorry. So please.
They should have had you at the Trump thing.
Well, it would have been funnier, but Puerto Rico, you can't even say Puerto Rico heterosexually. Puerto Rico. You can't. You could try it. Try saying Puerto Rico. Like
I won't dare.
Try saying Puerto Rico and not sounding gay. Please, sorry.
No, first of all.
Why is he in this?
Stay over
Should I
there.
be in
No,
this?
why is it? No, you're in the wrong seat. You're supposed to be over there. This is.
You sat down there.
This is hostile feng shui. No, I was the last to come out actually. This is hostile feng shui. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
First of all, can I ask, do we have any other protesters that want to say their thing?
I was going to say they're not be stupid enough to reveal themselves. On the basis of the last two, they might be.
I just want to.
I liked his outfit.
I didn't see his outfit.
He was wearing his beautiful stockings. It was gorgeous.
Stockings.
Yes.
Stockings. Yes. We should go back to wearing stockings. Somebody's. I saw somebody's. Who was it? It was our good friend. Well, it might not be your friend. Eric Prince said, America's finest hour was the Gilded Age. And so I was recalling the HBO. Show. Everybody's sort of dressed properly, so it's nice. People kind of just a full thing for dinner. I said, yes, we could do that. America is too lazy and gay, I think, for that.
Yeah. So and we'll start with that. Hats. I think people used to wear hats in the '60s,
Yes.
like real hats. I think we should go back to that. So.
Well, of course you do. you're still wearing yours. Yeah. No, the '60s, but it became a sort of like it was like a camp thing by the time the '60s came around, right? So no, I mean the last time people wore hats was like 1860, 1900s, I guess, like first decade of 1900s.
I almost brought a yarmulke.
Why?
I just
I had one in 2016, and it said I can't remember. It's something funny. It wasn't as funny as yours, but it said something, and it's haunted me. It's haunted me because since I've evolved to become more hostile to all this shit. Now I'm sort of pro-Palestine like him, and now there's this picture, this photograph.
I'm not pro-Palestine for what it's worth. I was just trying to get them to stay.
Oh, I am. Oh, okay. So fine. So but no. This photo haunts me. It's just me from the back with this bleach blonde hair. I can't deny it's me. With this red Trump kip on. But I'll try to find it. You should have it.
So
what was the question? Sorry.
Sorry. No. So yes. So the question was, we wanted to talk about things where maybe the two of you disagree to hear some friction. So one of the issues that
Shame on Penn State admin.
Totally.
Wait a minute.
Good heavens.
What about me? I'm defending. What about me? I feel attacked. I'm doing my best to counter program.
Ooh.
Until people
Conspiracy. There's a conspiracy.
About the Q&A. Shame on all of you for spending wasting your time, wasting your money on these worthless. No. On all of you. You shouldn't be here. I hope all of your family, I hope all of your friends hates you for this. For wasting your time.
That's rather a dark sentiment, isn't it? That's rather an ugly, dark sentiment. There we go. There we go.
On all of you.
There we go.
All right, so let's talk about this for a minute. So,
well, we all know where that's headed.
do we?
And speaking of heaven and hell, Jeffrey Dahmer. No. I you see it on Twitter. It's good.
So, any more protesters in the crowd?
They're not going to tell you. By the end, the only person left will be your wife, who I've been so rude to today that she might flip on us as well. And so no, it's going to be great.
So, all right, so let's talk about free speech. I think.
Welcome to 2016. How about we don't? No. Something you can do better than that. Come on. I did warn you I was going to rate your questions.
Okay, so
and that wasn't actually even a question.
No, that was not a question.
It was a proposal that has been rejected. So let's try again.
All right. So let's see.
I wrote you a whole whiteboard.
I know, we had a whole whiteboard to prepare for this.
All right, I'll talk about Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay.
Let's talk about Jeffrey Dahmer, because I know that, Milo, you're going to be pro. And
yeah, I think I'm good with the con, yeah.
Okay, so I will
I'm
lay
an ex-con, so.
I will you must be tight with some pretty dangerous people now.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's pretty hard. Yeah, good. So I got there through dating. You got there through for being sentenced. And as Jeffrey Dahmer, okay, so someone said, why do women always inhabit the personalities of these criminals, murderers?
Well, a lot of women love serial killers.
Of course, it's the same reason women love us. It's the bad boy thing, but writ large. And I said, I must say a word of defense in Jeffrey Dahmer's case.
Really?
Yes, because Jeffrey, no, let me finish. Jeffrey Dahmer, as he was eating his predominantly gay victims, their souls were headed to hell because they were faggots. Whereas Dahmer in jail converted to Christianity, and he denounced his previous lifestyle. He repented in a
Didn't he get killed like in 2 weeks?
Generalized Christian sort of way.
This is a fake story.
No. Jeffrey Dahmer died a Christian man.
He was there for like 3 days.
Sorry
before somebody killed him.
Apologetic for his sins and for so there's a very good chance that Jeffrey Dahmer's in heaven and his victims aren't, and that's why he's my ex-gay icon, because I feel like if you can go out and sort of murder and eat gay black people, there's hope, and still get into heaven. There's hope for all of us.
I was so scared of him as a kid. Like I was like 8. And
but you weren't gay.
I figured I didn't know that. I knew I wasn't gay. I didn't know that he only went after.
I think it was predominantly.
I think so.
Yeah. You were afraid of Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yeah, I mean it was on the news every day. It would scare the shit out of everyone.
I don't remember. How old are you?
41.
I just turned 40, so I should be afraid of Jeffrey Dahmer, but I'm not.
You weren't in America, were you?
Well, no, but you know, it sort of ripples, doesn't it? You know, people.
Well, you bring up.
Believe me, there's plenty of things in America that people outside of America are afraid of. You know, so no, I never.
So in your book, it's okay to kill 20, 30 people.
Well,
And
only if you
as long as you repent.
I'm just saying, it's probably the most Jewish thing about me, is the loophole of all loopholes, isn't it? No, it just, you know, he apparently sincerely repented at the end. His victims, however, died chutney punchers, and therefore they're almost certainly in hell. And Jeffrey Dahmer is, you know.
So they're bad because they were gay.
Well, no, not them. They did bad things, giving into disordered urges.
Which you also did.
Which I did in the past, and that died having not resolved that with God. So therefore, they're probably headed downwards. And Jeffrey Dahmer, on the other hand, died a repentant Christian.
Well, that's a good philosophical question, though, because
the point of this is there's hope for all of us.
But Jeffrey Dahmer,
even for these terrible people who have been one by one dragged out of here, and
but
I'm sure there are
Jeffrey
some more.
Dahmer's, he cut short the lives of those people. Perhaps had he not done so, had he not eaten them, maybe they would have repented.
Yeah.
It's possible, but we can't know that. And you know, you don't.
I think the only person.
I mean,
that
judgment doesn't happen on the basis of what might have occurred had you lived longer.
I don't think you could win this argument, but I think the only person that could win this argument, let me finish, is Ben Shapiro, the greatest debater of all time, who would easily dispatch you with like half his brain. I'm just saying, he's a smart guy.
Is he?
He's very rich,
Doesn't
smart,
he just bully 18-year-olds?
funny, rich. Did I mention rich?
I don't think he has that much money.
I don't know, but
I mean, his house is.
he's also tall.
No, he's not tall. Oh, you're lying. Got it.
No,
sorry. You know, sometimes I don't pick up on sarcasm. It's like when I don't know when people are flirting with me, which I never realize. Sometimes I don't pick up when people are being ironic.
Well, Ben Shapiro brings up an interesting.
No, he doesn't. Ever.
I just saw that he did this YouTube where he did a thing like at a college like this.
Yeah, he's getting beaten by trannies. He's getting beaten by.
Is that what happened?
Yes. He's so this woman. She comes up. Are these chairs like strapped into anything? No, she comes up. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen a tranny do, and I've been on the internet a long time. So she comes up to Ben Shapiro and she goes like this.
How are
This
you?
is like, okay, maybe you're almost there. maybe you're 80% of the way to a man. And she looks like that fat. I mean, who am I to talk about? The fat guy who can't grow a beard. There's some famous podcaster. Anyway, so no, he's getting like trounced by trannies.
I didn't see that.
We've never lost an argument to a transsexual.
Right.
I mean, they don't have functioning brains. I mean, they don't, do they? They don't even.
You have to have compassion for your fellow human beings, you know.
Well,
I think that's why some of these people are
Technically-
mad at you.
Excuse me. Technically, you have to try. Church teaching is you have to try. You don't have to exhibit. You have to try, and I do try.
I suppose.
No, I
You
try.
say so.
I try very hard to be nice.
Well, so one of the things that I think you two have been fighting about online is crypto.
Sure.
Gay and Jewish. Yeah.
Gay and Jewish.
Yeah.
So
So the first part.
You know my argument on this.
No, please.
Well, then you can you see he knows far more about the subject. So there's opportunity for you to demolish me like Ben Shapiro would apparently.
I mean, that's the gold standard. Yeah.
Okay, if that's your aspiration in life, I feel the joint really has changed you. No, I. I was like, I went
I
into,
look up to the Parthenon.
No, I went into jail, master of all I survey. Sort of Hillary Clinton's hair in my closet, and I come out wanting to be Ben Shapiro.
gay and Jewish.
As popes. Thank you. You had me for a minute. They're the same thing, but when popes have written about this, the source of value in the economy is human labor, and anything
Sure.
that does not come from human labor is, in some sense, either morally or fiscally illegitimate. So Christian teaching goes anyway, and so usurious practices, compound interest. These are not let's say they're not desirable ways to make money. They're not things that are noble and inspiring ways to make money. And where there is something that transmits value, it ought to be a medium of exchange and not a store of value, because your responsibility as a Christian and as a good person is to if you make a lot of money, is to build things, employ people, build an empire, invest in new other businesses, rather than like a dragon, these people, sort of sitting on a hoard, of the desolation of Smaug, sitting on a giant hoard of gold. That's a store of value and not a medium of exchange. And crypto is a very bad medium of exchange, appalling, and produces unearned income, which is immoral and usurious and gay and Jewish. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for
Just morally
everything
repugnant.
but maybe the last two. But no, I think that the moral side of it, I mean, you're basically making an anti-capitalist argument.
Not really. It's not anti-capitalist to say that value in the economy is created by people and what people do.
But it accrues to owners who are capital, not labor.
Who have a responsibility to reinvest and to continue to transmit that value around, to circulate it, and for it to grow in that way, rather than to hoard and to have their wealth grow through unearned, mystical or wicked things.
So does Bill Gates earn what he's built?
No, of course not. Of course not. But this is precisely the point, because that's a whole other subject, because he's just a tremendously evil person. But
Elon Musk, or why? Okay, so I don't think he's evil at all.
Musk is there thanks to the largesse of the American taxpayer.
Whoever you want to pick.
If you see those newspapers, I think
Jeffrey Epstein.
There's European newspapers. You'll sometimes see welfare queen. It's a woman with 7 children, and she's living in this luxurious mansion. She lives entirely on welfare. Elon Musk is like America's welfare queen. None of his businesses are plausible, possible, or solvent without enormous tax breaks, massive government contracts. I mean, he's the greatest recipient of American taxpayer largesse in history, include all the way back to the Rockefellers and the railways. Just everything. I mean, who did everything. Not to say that's necessarily a terrible thing, but some of what he's. I mean, this myth about space is just silly. But
Zuckerberg or somebody, pick a rich, famous, successful person. Did they earn their? They did almost nothing, in terms of labor. And after a while, that separates even more. So that, say, the Walton family, who just inherited the biggest, retailer in the world, that family hasn't worked at all. Their generation families haven't.
Right, but nobody's saying that inheritance is wrong. You can enjoy the wealth that comes from value created by your predecessors, but if the wealth is enlarging or being solely or predominantly sustained by things that hurt people, like compound interest, or things that are unearned, like weird usurious crypto, tomfoolery and nonsense, mystical spell casting with algorithms. That this is morally. It is undesirable.
It's a little bit like Sharia law.
Don't you find it undesirable?
I don't. I think we have to have loans, for example.
Right, but the interest does not have to be compound. I mean, there's an extra, and there's no problem with a fee in the form of like a structured interest, but it's interest on interest where it becomes immoral and excessive. And that's where these things kick in.
The person who really agreed with you on that was President Barack Obama, one of our greatest presidents.
Oh dear.
And he believed that payday lending was actually a terrible thing because it took advantage of one of your favorite communities, the black community, who would see Montel Williams on TV and say, I need to borrow $1,000. And
I don't think it was Montel Williams they were looking at.
No, he was the spokesperson for one of the top guys.
No, you did. You're right. You're right. Because that's kind of like that's the black guy in the cashmere sweater that you can trust versus the rappers who don't really have your interest, but you are still buying the shit the rappers have just from Montel.
So I need to borrow $1,000 at 35% interest.
Fine, but
tomorrow.
I mean, Trump has made some similar noises in that regard because they exist in similar social universes.
Why can't it be Darwinian? Why can't it be if you're stupid enough to buy a 30% loan, then you deserve?
Because as a more intelligent or a more well-connected, or dare I say, you have a responsibility. In the same way that we have a responsibility to the natural world, you have a responsibility to stupid people, to take care of them. You have the responsibility not to abuse and.
It sounds like a Democrat.
Well, maybe not Democrat today, but maybe a Democrat 50 years ago. Sure, okay, fine. I don't take that as offensive. Trump sounds like a Democrat all the time, all the time. He sounds exactly like a Democrat from 20 years ago. So give me a break. I think you have a responsibility not to exploit and abuse people who don't have the tools or the knowledge or the ability to protect themselves.
Is it a personal
from rapacious-
responsibility?
Yes, of course.
Of course.
No,
but
it's a moral
but where does
responsibility.
it step where it's a government responsibility?
Well, the government is there to ensure that an orderly, safe, and healthy, flourishing and sustainable society, which includes protecting some of the weakest people from some of the most wicked, and includes protecting the natural or indeed artificial borders of the nation. It includes all kinds of things. I mean, the government's business is not like to invent new stuff to do. That's just something that Western governments do now because the society is so sophisticated that everybody's now bored and finding stuff to do. Who is ruling us, right? But a government's job is caretaking. They are there to protect and to perpetuate. They're there like the custodians of an old country house. A government's job is to make sure that the country is at least as stable, wealthy, and safe as it was when they found it. Their job is not to invent new futures. So yes, precisely, it's the government's job to make sure that the most vulnerable in society are not exploited and abused by wicked, immoral, rapacious people and companies.
Really interesting angle on that, if I may, and I'm very anti-government in almost every form, but when Facebook and Google set up their products and they're free, Instagram, TikTok, all these companies, they set up these free products, one of the things I can't help but think about, obviously from a business perspective, it's genius, but it's not free. It's somehow they're making a lot of money.
It's not, and the way that you know that government should have stepped in earlier is when you hear about things like relentless A/B testing about the placement of pixels to make people click on more ads, even though they're getting a free search service. That's when you know something's not quite.
What Vegas does with slot machines.
Right. That's when you know something's not quite right because people are being acted upon in a way that they are not consciously able to mitigate.
Lizard brain, yeah.
Exactly. There are 75 things happening on that page, and the user is only aware of 2 of them, or maybe it's from 500 and they're only aware of 2.
You know what's really interesting about this is, I have this had this friendship with Barron Trump very briefly, and as his
that's the story. We'll get there.
as his mentor, not as his lover.
Oh well, no. I too have been burned by a mentee. Perhaps some of you have heard of Nicholas J. Fuentes.
Yes.
Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there.
So
look at him now.
One of the things I learned about Barron and his generation, which I couldn't understand because you're not hanging out with kids that age, is hopefully, but they are all addicted to these online, and maybe some people here know what I'm talking about, these sort of online gambling games like Stake and Roulette and Rollbat and all these other
Maybe the heterosexual ones, the Groypers aren't. They never talk about.
Oh, I doubt the Groypers
they never talk about gambling, but then they never talk about anything fun, women or they don't. Anyway, really?
Yeah.
And high stakes stuff.
No.
Because Aiden Ross,
he perpetuated this.
So so I saw a clip where he gets this girl fired because she read the cards wrong and cost him $10,000. And because he spends hours streaming, just playing poker.
Yeah, he's addicting his fan base to.
I think Sneeko got him off playing so much poker or something.
But poker's sort of a skill game, whereas slots is you're just giving money to the dopamine machine.
Yeah, because it's impossible to in aggregate it's impossible to beat the odds.
So what's
because
interesting
it's built in.
Twitch had these streamers, so you had Aiden and some other people, and then Twitch banned these streamers from streaming gambling, and so the guys who made the gambling sites, this company called Stake, they made a new site called Kick. Just so they could
Which Aiden Ross has a stake in because he's
just so they can legally find more victims.
So Barron is into gambling.
Well, I think everyone in that generation.
I bet his dad hates that because Trump
subject.
Is it?
Well, the Atlantic said Trump endeavor didn't go great. So
true. Yes, but I don't think that's why that failed. No, I think because Trump is like no gambling, no drinking,
right.
All the rest of it, and he says that to the idiot children as well as the smart ones.
Yeah, I just
fill in the blanks yourself.
It's really this pernicious social thing that's happening, and again, I see it a lot in Barron and all his friends. They all. Right, but Zin is another thing that's been really big.
So surely you agree with me that that should be like Pornhub is in the South. It's such a great thing. If we have to age verify people, we're going to pull out of your state. No, but shouldn't that be like an 18 or 21 thing? You know, you scan your state ID and you can't gamble if you're like a 16-year-old child.
Yeah.
Because you know I like fried my reward circuits, like the dopamine, the re-ups. No, I'm telling you, like I am now anhedonic. I really enjoy nothing, you know, unless it's like huge extremes. You know, I have to take masses of. I don't really do drugs anymore, but I don't do drugs anymore. But you know, I have to drink so much coffee, or I have to like be so rude to people, or you know, it takes all the things that used to get me off. Yeah, black men and discourtesy. No, but I have to do so much of it now to like be happy because I've fried my reward circuits. You know, they're just burnt out, and
Well, I
like
think
a
that's
circuit board, there's no repairing them.
And I think that's what's happening. Like a bunch of kids in my office, you know, I hire a lot of people who are younger because they're cheaper. They're often very motivated, and
Until they discover kick.
yeah, right. But
So what
but
happened?
there-
What happened with Barron?
I mean, he's a nice guy, you know.
That was a politician's answer.
Wait, what?
Probe him.
He's
No. What happened with the guys in your office that you were talking
well,
about?
they're all on Zyn, which is this thing that you put in your mouth. And
Which I'm not crazy about that. Like I'm not hugely pleased with Tucker Carlson about that because he's like all in on Zyn, and then they the only reason he stopped it and now has his own brand is because they donated to Camera. It's like hardly a virtuous reason, but he's all in on this thing.
he's definitely popular.
I just can't imagine kissing somebody. Not that I have that in my future, probably ever again. You know, hopefully, but no. I mean, it's horrible, surely.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but I know that
I know you don't kiss the young people in your office,
No.
but you know, but it must be ghastly.
Well, Martin, I'm curious about your position on gambling. So do you find it to be corrosive? Do you think that it is something that government, that as much as you're against it, should step in?
it's interesting. You know, in prison there was, you know, it's very surprising stuff. There were very few white people, with the exception of sex crime, where almost every sex criminal was white,
We do excel at that.
which was disturbing. And what I sort of noticed is that people replace addictions with other things, including gambling, and in that case, sex crime, pedophilia. And it was sort of alarming that what you're talking about rings true about this hedonic treadmill. Like,
And,
you know,
this is the way
Charlie
that-
Sheen sort of did this as well.
But this is the way addiction functions. They're transferable because it's operating on the same process in the brain. And also, I mean, Christians would phrase this as we let one sin in and the others will follow. This is sort of a
Social media
Well,
is
this
the other
is-
thing that sort of is corrosively infected. So you have social media, gambling, this trifecta of like
they're
terrible stuff.
They're comorbidities.
Yeah.
Because what the early church fathers could not have known when they wrote that let one sin in and the others will follow is that how addiction functions, which we have a little bit of a better idea about now. And people construct rituals around their addictions that involve other addictions, and they build packages of them, right? So somebody who is addicted to cocaine is highly likely to also become a sex addict, right? And they construct rituals around both, and then they add more things, and they add more things. These things are, like I said, like comorbidities, and they attract one another. And you're into one of them, you're more likely to be sort of vulnerable to others. This is precisely why I was right about government.
And but on this topic of these comorbidities that affect young people, so we had a bunch of mentally ill people here earlier this evening, and I'm serious about this. These people are clearly mentally ill.
I don't think so, but go ahead.
Oh, so
No, they're not well.
Well, I want to
Every
get both of
single
your
one of those
positions on
people,
this.
every single one of those people is on medication.
I think
all three of them.
I think
all
it's
three are on
okay to
medication.
be passionate about what you care, whatever it is you care
But they're
about.
not. But they're not. There was
Maybe
there was,
a young MILO Yiannopoulos was interrupting some, you know, thing 30 years ago.
No, I was too drunk. Or I was sort of staked out. But no, I was like a normal person. I was out high and having sex. No, but there was nothing being articulated. There was no. What they were doing was they were howls of pain. And that's why I agree with you, because these are people that were hurting, right?
I would have loved to ask them if they knew who both of you were, and
Very often they don't. Very
Yeah.
often they don't, and they can't tell you a thing we've ever said, right? Because it's not about us. They're not articulating an alternative model of the universe. They are just crying out in pain, and all three of them. And you could see in their eyes they're on drugs, you know, and they're on antipsychotics or whatever.
You know, I really,
SSRIs, you know.
I was really interested in the young guy who wanted to ask you if you. I mean, he was a lot more articulate than the other two, because he said.
He was white.
Yeah, maybe. Wait, did I say no?
Just kidding.
Not
I'm
maybe.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
the guy who stood up and said, "Do you?"
Kanye West used to always want me to call him articulate in front of other people. It was hilarious. It was so funny. Oh, sorry, you're so articulate. He loved it. Sorry.
Did he asked you, "Do you believe the stuff you say?" And I think what was behind that is, I think, and he even while he exited, he screamed something that basically implied, "I think you're still gay."
Yes, but Ann Coulter was being asked that on television in the 90s. That wasn't a sincere question about my beliefs. That is something he's seen other people ask right-wingers, and that's why I still think that
I could tell that he was probably gay as a young guy
from the
just the aura and.
They do have a negative aura.
I wonder
if people think homosexuals are charismatic. It's more of a sort of a black hole.
I think the other two people were more they were like very blasé and boring, but like he actually did seem pained and like maybe this identity crisis thing.
I had betrayed him by going straight.
Perhaps, yeah.
I betrayed him by going straight.
I saw a little bit of that.
You know what? Yes, maybe, because again,
but also
a cry and pain. Why have I betrayed him by going straight? Because he knows that his sexuality is not real, and why would it upset you so much? Why would you be
weird.
Why would you be that upset unless you secretly wondered if you were really gay too? Like if it was really real, or if in fact actually you wish that you could be different, and the only thing you really don't like about that guy is that he actually went and did it, right?
Well, speaking of this, we've talked a lot about youth. One of the things that's happening with youth is you have an unprecedented number of LGBTQ identifying students and youth. And I wonder where is that
it's not
coming
real.
from?
It's not real. It's women. It's women. If you dive into the numbers, it's all women, and it's women identifying as, guess what, bisexual. They're not. Women go. Everyone knows the trope of women going les in college, right? Which is really just a way, and they do sometimes do things with each other, but it's really just a way of avoiding unwanted male sexual interest. Okay.
I thought that was disappearing.
Well, no. But this growth in the number of people reporting themselves as LGBT, it's all girls. It's all girls, and it's all girls describing themselves as bisexual. They all end up married. It's not real.
We need a CNN fact check on this.
Feel free. Go, please, somebody look it up. But if you can find numbers that will satisfy me. But no. I've looked into this for God's sake. It's all women, and it's all women describing themselves, but it's not real. It's not real. It's a fantasy.
But there has to be some reason
well,
that
I
number
tell you,
is tripled.
the one reason it might be going up slightly and not remotely to the same extent that he says with a pink wrestling thing. No, the reason it might go upside is that, of course, homosexuality is a very, very, very tiny little bit nature and then a lot nurture. And so as society gets more fatherless, you will see more homosexuals. So demonstration of this, if you find that implausible, is the groups that report the highest, self-report the highest number of gay men are, no surprises, blacks, Jews. Why? Because the etiology of homosexuality is absent or weak fathers and overbearing mothers, and those two communities have absent fathers and ferocious, respectively, have ferocious women. Jewish marriage is like lion taming. You sort of you've got this sort of highly intelligent sort of nebbish scholar like just trying to keep this thing under control. But see how I'm not looking in any direction. I haven't looked to my left in some time. It's a lion taming. And so it's a high risk scenario for homosexuality. And of course, the black community is just sort of rampantly fatherless. As that becomes the norm, as the state seeks to replace the father. By growing too large and replacing the husband for single moms, you do see a growth in homosexuals. So it's not true that it's not going up at all, but it's not going up by as much as it seems to be because you have this sort of steady trend upwards as Western society gets less religious, more degenerate, and the state grows, and that's fine. And then with like millennials and X, it goes like this, and that's bullshit.
Well, my question would be, because I do enjoy this topic, especially in a college setting, about kind of the next generation and the problems that they're facing. Do either of you see any hope? And what I would like to know also from both of you is if religion, you think, can play a role in that.
Yeah, I mean, so religion is I think it's sort of anachronistic. And I think that, and this, I know you guys don't agree with me, but I'm my own man, and that's my feeling. I think that technology has replaced religion in a lot of ways, and I think that we seek explanations for things we don't understand. Why are we here? Why does the sun exist, the universe? What is physics? Things like that. And increasingly, we're kind of getting better answers, I think, from technology. They don't necessarily fill every hole in your heart, but I think that we have some better answers. And the numinous, the unexplainable, it's...
You think the Enlightenment vision of the universe makes more sense and makes people happier and is better than like the medieval Catholic version? Because that's
funny
insane
you say this,
to me.
Because
my
my father just passed away. And people ask me, thank you, do you believe in God and stuff like that? And I'm like, look, as a proto-scientist or moonlighter, like, no, I mean, there's no evidence, there's no logic to it, et cetera, et cetera. But as a human, I sit there and say, I'd love to see my dad again. You know, it would be the greatest thing in the world. And it just doesn't seem like it makes sense to me. And I think that to the youth, that's even further removed from like our generation, the generation
The
before.
only person I've ever met that's got thinner and less religious in jail.
At least I didn't do the Muslim thing.
But, you know, people have to stay alive because you got to pick a tribe when you get in there.
It's true.
Now, I asked when he got out. I hope you don't mind me sharing this.
No.
When he got out, I asked. I said, look, this went one of two ways. Either it was really, really bad, or you were running the place in like a week. And I knew the answer was like, yeah, I was running the place in a week. Okay, got it. Because you're sort of writing all of their parole applications.
No.
You know,
I had a guy doing that.
Right. Sorry. I have to generalize from Orange is the New Black, so I don't really know how it works.
But it's funny because a little bit of money in prison is devastating to the institution.
Right.
You know, like it's what makes it go round. So I was on the 5th floor of this place, MDC, Brooklyn, that has a new popular, famous inmate named Sean Combs. And yes, and so if you're sort of doing too much, they send you up to the 8th floor. So I got to live on with the other inmates for a while, and then they sent me up.
Because you were doing the most?
I was doing too much.
Because you were running the place?
Yeah. And but Diddy is starting there, and he's with Sam Bankman right now. Talk about strange bedfellows.
Well, not really. I mean, probably they probably know
and
each
the mayor,
other. Don't they know each other?
The mayor may end up there too. Eric Adams. There's like an 80-90% chance. That's the mayor of New York.
That's a
crypto king.
I don't have a lot of time
and the
anymore.
black Jeffrey Epstein.
That is a show I'd watch.
Right?
That's a show. That's a show.
Oh, by the way, when I went up there, it was strange. It was like, so I was with gangbangers, Bloods, YG, every gang you can imagine, and I had enough credibility.
Queen of all you surveyed.
I had enough credibility with the blacks because I listened to the rap music. And
people used to say to me, how dare you?
You know how it is.
No, and I'm just like, look, I know the words to every Mary J. Blige song.
That's
okay.
That's all you need to know.
And
I was good with the Italians and Albanians.
Obviously.
Then, you know, I didn't snitch on the case. I fought the case, fought the government. So everyone kind of liked me.
Yep.
And but when I went upstairs to this place I didn't ask to go to, protective custody, it's called. It was 2 or 3 like mob snitches. Police, like bad police.
Those people you don't relate to.
No. Bad policemen and bad firefighters, apparently.
Because they just get murdered.
Exactly, so they have to put them up there. And about 10 trans prisoners.
Oh, of course, yeah. So what you're saying is you got upgraded to, you know, at the top of the Four Seasons.
Special version of hell.
No. When you spend as much time in hotels as I do, and you get these silly statuses, they will put you on the club floor of the hotel, which other people can't get to. This is a special elevator, and there's nothing special about it whatsoever, other than the fact that other people can't get there, and they give you the crap coffee between like 6 and 6:45. And so you were on the club class floor.
Yes.
Of the hotel.
When I got there, all the guards trolled me. They're like, there's a swimming pool on floor 6. I was like, really? Is that so?
You've
They're like,
skipped
no,
over,
asshole.
You see, as with the Four Seasons, the amenities are all in the bar. You get to club that's just a wasteland. It's just for politicians, really.
Another quick funny story is like the first day is really bad, right? You have no idea what's going on, and I'm being like escorted to this cell. Every other day it gets easier, but the first day is particularly atrocious. You're in solitary confinement. You have this whole thing, and the guy puts me into my solitary confinement cell. He goes, "Have I provided you with great customer service today?"
Stop it! Stop it!
Funny.
Stop it! On the plane on the way here, United have upgraded their. They say, "Oh, welcome to Friendly Skies," and they say, "Customer service is our passion, but thank you is our #1 priority." Just but this is the prison zone.
I guess so. I mean, we're all.
Have I provided you with great customer service? No, nigga, let me out.
Now, speaking of which, everybody wants to know what was working with Kanye like.
He's very, very brilliant and really extraordinary, and probably I would say the way that I think about him, I said this to him. I don't think it'd be too mad if I say this. I think he's the last great European composer accidentally dropped in the body of a 21st century American Negro. So it's kind of like trying to run Skynet on an Atari, and so. And so there are these sort of extraordinary creative leaps that you know just like that's fucking Mozart, you know, having enough kind of a cultural hinterland in education to know a little bit about you know artists and composers. I'm like, I see this, I've seen this before, but not since you know Germany in 18 whatever, like that level of brilliance. And then just I think treading on his own feet a lot with sort of. Well, I should probably leave it there, but he's a mercurial, difficult genius of the type that America in particular, but the world in general, is just not very good at accommodating anymore. And part of the reason for that is that we now live in a culture that rewards predictability and conformity, and that punishes iconoclasts, and that punishes, we've both suffered as a result of this.
That's right.
Ye is kind of like a little like us, but just sort of writ large.
In business, it's changing a little bit, and I was talking to
the Musk effect.
Yes, exactly. Well, there's this woman named Lulu Cheng who is the go-to person now for PR, and she said, you actually helped shape my advice to her clientele as the who's who of business, the very biggest names in business, and especially in tech. And she said, by being yourself, you really tried something new. And I'm sitting here like, what the fuck? And but
everybody else was taken.
It really is this like strange thing to do. And for Ye though, I mean, I agree that like business is boring. At the end of the day, true genius that's
he doesn't understand anyway.
Right.
He's a creative. I mean, I think he's probably the last great creative genius.
Why does it have to be European? I mean, there are great American creative.
Well, I'm just trying to pay him a compliment. Because there are no great American artists. Name one. Great American
jazz.
Excuse me. I'm terribly sorry.
I don't like it, but they say it's good.
When slavery. No, I don't like it either. It's not good. When slavery, it's not good from who likes it: white college professors and black people.
Pretty much.
No, that's how you know it's not fucking good, and they don't like it anymore. When these guys are forced to end slavery and all of their slave ships and all the rest of it, they do two things. First of all, they blame white people for slavery, and then the second thing they do is they I'm just kidding, but in order that black people do not reconnect with their dangerous and powerful, magical, authentic kind of African identity, which would make them altogether too much trouble. They are fed instead weed and jazz and now rap and hip hop to keep them dumb and dependent and controllable. These are fake manufactured
I don't
things
agree with
that are just force fed to black people to keep them stupid.
I don't agree with that at all. But I will say this: in prison, it was a sea change. It was all minorities, and almost every prisoner I met came from a single parent household.
Right. It's the great disease of our age.
Or no parent household.
This is the great disease of our age. It's fatherlessness, right?
I read about like 500 books in prison. A lot of it was about business and business greats. Almost all of the business greats.
The only guy that never took the Bible out. Like everybody else in jail is like, oh, just give me some of that good. No, just not you.
No.
You would read like Mills and Boone before reading the Bible. Just give me anything, just not that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Last time I was at Tucker Carlson's house, and he had a Bible. And he told me that Nick Fuentes, well, hold on a second. I should stop right there.
Tell me afterwards.
I've heard an enormous amount of rumors that Nick Fuentes is gay.
Oh, yes.
Not from just one person.
Well, let me.
It certainly seems.
Let me convert it from rumor to reality. Yes. Yes, continue.
Do you know my ex-girlfriend Lauren Hayden by any chance? She did a thing with Fuentes. And she's very attractive young lady.
She's very pretty.
And she's
you've
trying
you've always had lovely girls.
Well, thank you.
You've always had lovely girls.
Milo once met these two college babes I was dating at the same time.
Yes, I did.
Those were the glory days.
To be honest with you, it's the only thing I remember about the evening. I just thought, Martin, really? You see.
I had two more back at home. No, but in all seriousness,
he's always had lovely girls.
But Lauren's flirting with Nick, and Nick's just sort of like doesn't know what to do, and he's sort of It was the weirdest thing.
No, not knowing
Doesn't
what to
he
do.
remind you of Ben Shapiro?
Yeah,
I
of
feel like
course.
they're like very similar.
You know, I heard
don't
something
know.
about Ben Shapiro that I swore that I would not share, which I'm about to. I don't know. I have a reputation for gossip. It's very mean. People do this, but he and his wife get massages in their home, and Ben will insist on wearing knee-length basketball shorts with these huge, like, the elasticated, the thick, almost like wrestling shorts, just there's no possibility that anyone can get anywhere. Not that they fucking want to, bro. Just like nobody's craving to touch your dick. Like not even your wife. She's like, I wish we were more orthodox, so we did do it through a hole in a sheet. Just kidding. Sorry. I don't know if it's real, but is that real? It's disappointing. All the good stories about Jews turn out to be fake. It's so frustrating. I never ask you because I don't want to hear no. I want to keep them alive in my mind. Some of them are too good to stop saying. But anyway, no, but he gets these massages. It's a very creepy, weird thing with his wife in the house, and they have people come over, and the wife has to have a girl, and he has a guy, and he wears these.
Who told you this? No, I'm kidding.
I can't tell you because I can't tell you. He's already gonna. He will be texting me in about 11 minutes maximum, or maybe already. And he wears these like knee-length basketball shorts and these big elasticated like old like boxing style waistbands, and just gets really frosty and awkward and weird. And they do have that in common. Ben Shapiro is like a gay person who doesn't have sex with men.
Before my dad passed away, he had a prostate cancer scare. Many men will have prostate cancer scares. Every man here will someday.
The best advice is just not to check. Because there's no
I
point
think,
living.
I actually do think that. That's what I told my father.
You're gonna die anyway. Why live in fear?
I totally
Why be
told
unhappy?
that's exactly what
Why
I
be
told my dad.
unhappy? Just one day it'll be like a grapefruit and
my
you'll be
dad was
dead and
this-
it's fine.
My dad was this old Albanian guy who didn't give a fuck about anything, and the second he gets this like.
Your whole life changes, and it ruins the last 6 months of your life.
He went from like old Albanian mountain man to like, Martin, I'm really worried. I don't know what's gonna happen. And he goes, medicine? I said, yeah. I've made some of those drugs that you might take. And here's the thing, Dad. You might have to go in what's called chemical castration. And he said, what's that? I said, it's bad. He said, how bad is it? Is it painful? I said, no, it's not like that. You're going to become a little less of a man.
You're going to be gay.
and then he goes,
checking if you have prostate cancer.
And he goes, well, Mario, whoa, you gotta break that down for me. What does that mean? I said, Dad, the best way, and again, my dad's sort of Eastern European, a little old school, a little rough around the edges, not Mr. Sophisticated. I said, Dad,
my dad was the same.
Think of the manliest man you can think of, like Rambo or Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's okay. And I said, and my brother's listening. And I said, now think of the least manly man you can think of. My brother says Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. Yes.
And I said, you're probably going to go from column A to more like column B. And that's how I explain prostate cancer.
It's because words are a woman's weapon, and that's
Stop. What?
No. I mean, men fight with other things. Men fight.
fair.
Men fight with physically. They fight with power and money. Women fight with words. That's all he has. So I understand. But why live 6 months in misery as a eunuch?
It is a little crazy.
No, just don't get tested. Don't get tested for anything.
I
And it's all bollocks anyway, and doctors are liars, and they'll feed you a bunch of crap. It's not real. People like this are making the drugs. I mean, come on. Like, I'm going to go to the doctor and get, my 5,000. This is the guy behind the, no, just stop.
This medicine's just gotten more and more expensive. Cancer drugs can now be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, because
I'm getting hard right now.
Because people like you, who believe in the government being absent and in usurious and predatory practices, have introduced big money into medicine.
Let me tell you something.
That has
You're new to bro code, right? Okay.
I'm making fun of you. I'm making fun of you.
You're now part one of us, and let me give you chapter
Am
one.
I getting straight lessons?
Yes.
Oh God. Okay.
Get money.
Yes.
Fuck bitches.
Okay. No. I'm not. I'm not.
Pretty much it.
I think that's a good place to sum up.
I'm 50% of the way through, and that's where I intend to stop.
I think that's a great place to start to open it up to the Q&A.
That was almost elegantly done. It was nearly.
You gave such good advice.
Nearly. Okay.
But before we do, I just want to say, you heard these guys talk for now, almost an hour, And it's just so strange to me what these people are protesting against. And I hope that these
Well,
people
they're not.
are
That's the whole point. They're
Yeah.
unhappy people who are in pain, and they must locate it somewhere, and they can't locate it where it belongs because either they don't know, or they can't bring themselves to do it, or it has been made socially impossible, or whatever. So they locate it in an easy place, which is that guy who says crazy stuff. That must be why I'm hurting, you know, or this person who does something. That must be why I'm hurting. And people like us are low-hanging fruit because we, excuse me, not anymore, no longer, but because we exist outside of the prestige economy. This universe in which saying the right thing helps you to ascend up a ladder, which doesn't actually reward you with anything at all, but gives you an enormous mantelpiece full of meaningless accolades, and lets other people know that you're the right kind of guy. We've both decided to opt out of that process. And so it's easy to locate your trauma and your pain on people who have chosen to live outside of, civilized society.
Especially if it's diametrically opposite to what you've been trained to sort of.
Sure, and to an extent we both do that on purpose, I think, because we like to. I think we're both students.
You do it with everything.
No. I mean, I'm a practitioner of.
I do it with like one thing.
I mean, I'm trying to think of something where I agree with everybody.
Yeah, find one. While we wait, does anybody have questions?
No, you might be. You might be right. You might be right. You might be right. But I do get away with it sometimes.
Oh, you're anyone has questions? No.
In the meantime, I had.
Yeah, please come line up if you have a question. Just form a line right here in the middle, and we'll get going.
I know we knowed the First Amendment free speech thing, but I was kind of curious on if there's a reason that you could tell us about why you took that off of the appeal to the Supreme Court for your case.
Oh, it's a good question. Yeah. So I'm not a constitutional scholar, and that's a really esoteric question. So when you do litigation, which is something I've become like half an expert on.
Just give us background to his question.
Yeah, so the background is about a Supreme Court appeal that I undertook against the Federal Trade Commission and my dear friend, New York Attorney General Letitia James, who's a lovely, lovely lady, who I'm very afraid of. But the
does she do that thing? Because I notice a lot of black female attorneys who work for the government. They have a kind of strut.
Yeah, she struts.
And they're very large people, but their feet go kind of like over like this.
Yes.
And they've always, they've got those.
How do you know this?
I just have intuition where black people are concerned. And
she
they
is
have
also like livid about this Puerto Rico comment.
Oh yeah. Despite not hanging out with Puerto Ricans, but they have those big briefcases like on handles, that look like kind of hand luggage, but it's like a big briefcase. Have you seen those from lawyers?
She's transcended that. Like she's the big shot now.
Oh, so she's got a fleet of people, but
Yeah.
she does that kind of thing where they walk like this.
Yes.
But despite being huge. No, so the only thing that she's great at is gravity. Because they
She's pretty good at filing lawsuits against Trump, me, a couple of other people like that. I don't know what else she does.
Well, she's not tremendous at it.
Yeah.
I think you're probably one of her only wins, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. No, but so this is an esoteric legal question, which probably not the perfect venue for. But when you do these appeals, you tend to have to, and you're an attorney by trade, you tend to have to go with one really good, solid argument,
and then just throw everything else in after.
You kind of have to just basically give up on everything else, which is sad. And I think one of the biggest problems in the legal system, as far as I've experienced it, is the appeal system. So when you have a bad federal judge, which there are many, as we've now learned, because and again, I'm sort of a charitable Christian. They're people too, and they
judges.
Yeah.
No.
Sometimes, and they make mistakes and they have passions, and that's what the appeals court is for, literally, right? But the problem is the appeals court has this thing called deference. And the idea of deference is that the judge that presided knows of this case better than we do. How could we countermand and reverse the judge that knows the case? And I think as a lawyer, 95% of appeals are just thrown away because of judicial deference. Why should we overrule this judge? And the answer is, well, he made a mistake. and you have to fight really hard to get that. So if you lose that, you're sort of cooked because you go to the Supreme Court and they take a couple % of cases, if that. So now you're really kind of up Schitt's Creek because if you just got the bad draw, and some people think it's not a lottery when you get assigned a judge that's not so great.
It's not a lottery.
I prefer to believe it is random chance, but I'm also very gullible.
No, you're not, and you're being kind, and you're being charitable, which is a Christian virtue, by the way.
I have gotten good judges every now and then. So, but in any event, I got a bad judge. The appeals court said, the guy literally said it's a tribunal, and appeals court, it's 3 people. And the guy says, it's not what I would have done, but I can't reverse it. And I'm just sitting there like...
Isn't that what this is for?
Yeah, right.
And the whole appellate system in this country is bonkers. You have to have a very specific, particular kind of very expensive lawyer, and they're all snakes, sharks, and scumbags because they're the people you go to when you've already lost and you are fairly confident you can...
mostly Jewish, by the way.
Well, I didn't connect those things. That was all you. But no, but they work by definition for people who have lost, who are desperate, and who have a very slim chance of rescuing their lives and their businesses. And it is the most scummy, predatory, and they have these arcane laws,
very few people,
rules and systems in the courts.
Very few people want to be criminal defense lawyers, and that's why our host has actually supported the January 6th. Is it January 6th? The January 6th criminal defendants
aggressively sought out clients, in fact,
which is a wonderful,
which is to your great credit,
tremendous thing that you've done. And so anyway, I think in that case, my lawyer advised me that the First Amendment component of that case was just window dressing. It was important philosophically, but practically, I think the gigantic illegal activity of the FTC was the main thing that we were trying to sort of go after in terms of conduct restriction, and monetary penalty. So that was their main thrust of the case.
And the reality is, as well, that I obviously having run a company for Ye for 2 years, and he has hundreds of millions of dollars in legal exposure at all times. Some of it frivolous and some of it not. So I've kind of deep in a lot of this cases, a little bit like yours, for 2 years, directing the lawyers on it all. What you argue in court has nothing to do with right and wrong, and sometimes not very much to do with the law as it's written. It's so many peripheral concerns like
they
politics.
Say most judges have made up their mind within 10 minutes.
Right.
And the case goes on for 6 months, and the judge is like, I don't care.
Right.
Anyway.
That probably doesn't answer your question very well.
Question.
Could I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
I'm curious
on... Can I ask you about line 22 on, upon a pleading?
No, much more general. Do you know if you're the only person who's been banned from an entire industry, or if it's sort of common and we just don't hear it?
It's a really good question. So I do think it's unconstitutional, and I do think it'll be reversed at some point by a sort of a different case that is similar. But we looked pretty hard. I had a great lawyer here named Chris Casey, who you guys may know, Senator Casey, who's his brother, who's probably one of the few Democrats I really like. And we looked really hard. We said that it'd never been done before, and the FTC didn't disagree, but we actually did find a case at some point where somebody did that. And our best argument is the Constitution says you're free to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, which is not really an argument, but why not?
I was quite cross with you about that.
Yeah.
Because my most proud accomplishment is being banned from a continent, from the entire continent of Australasia.
That's pretty impressive.
Australia, New Zealand, all the islands.
The hell did you do?
Everything. Well, immediately after Christchurch, I can't even remember.
You didn't have anything to do with that.
Other than supporting, no, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm kidding. But I think all I said after Christchurch was, well, and that was enough,
That's what happened.
I basically
that's how
said,
you got banned from Twitter.
I basically said, okay, hear me out.
That's what happened to Leslie. The Twitter thing.
The governments of Australasia issued a joint statement banning me from the continent. But yours is I think better than that because it sort of transcends national boundaries, being forbidden.
Well, it is a U.S. ruling.
Yeah, but in reality, I mean, it practically speaking, it operates worldwide because who's going to, So I was a little bit cross with you about that because I felt that you'd slightly outclassed and
Thank you.
I thought you'd overshadowed me slightly. To be honest with you. I didn't. So I didn't talk to you for a while. I just, oh, you bastard. Yeah, no, it's impressive.
All right, so I have two personalized questions. Am I allowed to ask a question to both Martin and Milo individually?
I think.
Okay.
So.
All right, so I guess I'll start with Martin. I just gotta say, I find everything about you, like your personal history, just fascinating as a person. Like, you're clearly very intelligent, and then you found yourself in a more primitive environment. So I'm just wondering, like, how did you personally get through it, and what would you say were your overall takeaways after getting out? Like, was your worldview radically changed after seeing your fellow man brought to their bare roots, and how do you apply that to your current philosophy today?
I love that.
Well, unlike this guy, I do think that, we do share a lot in common with our fellow man, and that when you are reduced to one of my best friends in prison was
black.
Puerto Rican.
Sorry.
Close.
Puerto Rican. I mean,
several Puerto Ricans.
Are you people or are you punchlines? I mean,
they're people.
Look, Juan Ponce de Leon, who was getting a little bit too close to the Spanish queen, punished by King Ferdinand.
Is that how it all started?
Yes, punished by King Ferdinand and banished to this tiny speck in the Caribbean, and instructed to turn this nothing into a country. Failed. Is condemned to a fate worse than death, which is trying to turn this sort of garbage heap into a nation. This is the butt of you know what? Puerto Rico is so terrible that other Hispanics don't fuck with them, right? Like Venezuelans won't go there.
But like
Hondurans won't go there.
There's a lot of places with poverty. Haiti, Dominican Republic.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of places that the two things you will never see Puerto Ricans do. One, describe themselves as American, even if they've got like 10 generations of Americans behind them. And two,
is true.
And two, go back to Puerto Rico. And people are very mad when I tweeted that, but okay, somebody here please show me a plane ticket of you returning to Puerto Rico in the last 10 years.
What's interesting about Puerto Rico is
Crickets.
there is a nice part of it.
Yeah, the place that Puerto Ricans can't afford to go, which is where all the crypto bros live.
Correct.
Yes. Look, I know because I've been there, unfortunately.
So my answer is in prison, you realize that all the accoutrements and all the chasing of wealth or whatever, there's a really satisfying relationship and friendship you can have with just about anybody. And there are people, that are more difficult to deal with, but
the other thing about Puerto Rico is,
and so
like there's never been like a heterosexual male Hispanic, right? Like you can't.
I think South Park should do a treatment on this.
You can't name one. Like you cannot name like a Latino man who is not at least like 25% fruity. They're all fruity, and there's no completely straight. But this reaches its apotheosis, its zenith. So in Puerto Rico, where if you were to remove prostitution, drag queens, and barbacks from the employment statistics, they'd be at like 100% unemployment. Everybody in Puerto Rico is gay. Sorry.
Uplifting message that one of my favorite experiences in prison was just bullshit. Like the way you pass time in prison, you just bullshit with guys, and it's like the simplest sort of, I can't call it a joy, but it's sort of like this very human and enjoyable thing. And I just found it to be really like, you return to this like place of like, what unifies all of us? And it's these stories, and it's what we're doing now.
What kinds of things would you talk about in jail with your new friends that perhaps you would not have spoken about with the friends that you had on the outside before? Because I'm imagining that you're a person who's open about appetites. You like girls, something like that. So some of those things obviously continue. But what are the kinds of how did the conversations change?
I think that we all are touched by the same stuff. Betrayal. We've all been betrayed by somebody. Mm-hmm. Somebody we're angry about, or somebody we hate. It could be somebody in that jail. And you form these, it's all the same. People think prison is this place where everything breaks down. And the reality is, it's kind of this place where everything continues. And
because people like you and gangbangers discovered that they are motivated by similar
we're just humans at
drives
the end
and
of the day.
emotions.
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
I love-
Right. And so that was like the big learning for me. What's your question for Milo?
Okay. So the second protester got me thinking a lot about authenticity.
Are you gay?
No. It's not directed at Milo.
I'm
It's,
trying.
It's more so.
I mean,
It's more so directed at certain members of the dissident right, like including your former.
My former mentee.
Protege?
Your former.
Please don't weigh me down with that. You will never understand the burden of waking up in a cold sweat at 3 a.m. realizing you're responsible both for Lady Marga, the Trump-supporting drag queen, and Nick Fuentes. These are the things I have to carry with me. Okay. So
Well, I gotta tell a quick story about
Nick.
Nick, just for that. Milo introduced me to Nick on text.
Sorry.
And yeah, thank you for that apology. So I didn't know anything about this guy other than he was kind of online and popular and right wing. And so I Google him, and I'm just like, oh shit. And so he's like, he said hi, et cetera. And I say, yeah, nice to meet you, whatever. So I Google him and I said, Nick, you don't think the Holocaust didn't happen, do you? And he sort of backpedaled, fairly furiously. He was like, well, no, of course I think it happened, but and I was like, well, what? And it was just like this very weird text message, last text message I sent him. And I just was like, when maybe you can pull that shit on Rumble, but I just don't know how he deals with like.
It's my favorite joke, actually.
People
this is worse than the Holocaust because this actually happened. But it is a joke,
Well, that's a good thing.
You can argue about numbers.
I'm not sure I'm not sure that he gets that. And to me, that was like the weirdest, scariest thing because it's like, hey, man.
I realized afterwards. Well, I realized during the course of trying to fix him that he doesn't really particularly care about or believe in anything.
It's like a sociopath thing.
Yeah.
Would you say he's like a mirror of these people?
No. Because
who's these people?
He means the protesters, not this nice man in the.
I was going to say what?
Not this nice man in the powder blue.
That's an interesting question.
My grandmother had talcum powder that color. I remember it very vividly.
It's this like, I won't listen to anything you say. I don't care what you say. No evidence, doesn't matter.
No.
Holocaust didn't happen.
No, it's a different dysfunction because he's operating at a level removed from his feelings. He's denying his homosexuality. He's denying his drives. He's denying everything.
It's more advanced form of sociopathy.
Well, these people aren't sociopaths. These are the opposite of sociopaths. These are the people. These protesters are people with no self-control, no discipline, no restraint, no discernment, no ability to hide what they're feeling.
They're NPCs, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas Nick is a bumbling, blundering, not particularly effective sociopath who is no longer capable, if he ever was, of having authentic emotional reactions to things. He's now in this position where he is. He regards all success as suspect because he is out deep in the wildernesses of failure, and so any kind of success that Trump has, or whatever, must be because he sold out.
I've seen a bunch of this lately, especially with like this right-wing new talking point, which is anybody supporting Kamala was on Epstein Island or something like that.
Right, and it's
which is kind of stupid.
If X happens, it can only be because of Y, and it basically it boils down to the fact that Nick cannot imagine success because he can't achieve it.
It's
being possible unless you are dirty, corrupt.
All conspiracies work that way, like 9/11, for example.
All generalizations for the particular, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine 9/11 happened the way it happened. That must be
different.
Because
I wouldn't be able to do it like that, so it can't have happened that way.
Was that even the question? I don't think so.
No.
Well, it wasn't just confined to Nick Fuentes, but I've also noticed this with some other dissident right figures like Richard Spencer, Richard Hanania. Like all of them, like were originally very like anti-woke or just like very very anti-normie like views on stuff like race stuff and IQ, etc. Yeah. But they've seemingly like abandoned all of that in favor of pushing the mainstream like Democratic Party or like just
or they
go
nuts
ticket.
in some other way. I think that you are hearing from this evening the only two people who stayed sane after cancellation. I think everybody else has been broken by it. You look at Laura Loomer, either their personality contracts around it and it's all they have and it's all they are, and then when they get their Twitter account back, it's like a catastrophe. It's the worst thing ever happened because they don't know what they are anymore. They don't know what to do with themselves, and they're still talking in 2024 about free fucking speech. Like, give me a break. Like, please. I mean, Bannon and I invented it on a boat. Just stop it.
Are you saying they've receded from their extremism?
Well, it depends, right? They either spin off into...
I thought some people got worse.
They spin off into Fantasyland, or they retreat to some sort of faux iconoclastic position like Richard Spencer has, where he's actually just saying vote for Kamala Harris, even though he's got this tortured logic as to how to get there. So these people are all like driven mad by their ostracism, okay? Now, he's been ostracized in the most obvious and literal way, right? He has, and then I probably in the figurative ways that don't matter so much, that are not so real. But I think that we are, I think I'm right, I can't think of anybody else really. I think we're the only two people that have stayed sane after that kind of exposure and excommunication. So I think part of what you're seeing in these dissident figures is the effect of social ostracism on somebody who lives for attention or who exists in the public.
I was going to go to the hedonic treadmill back again.
Right. So these people are cut off from the thing that gives them erections, right?
Well, especially fame and notoriety. I mean, once you start receding from that, now maybe you think the Holocaust didn't happen. Maybe
because
now
you need to chase this high of like people talking about it. But you see, I think
where does that end? Like at some point, you support Jeffrey Dahmer.
There's that. All right, you can have that one. You can have that one. No, but it's. I mean, seriously, it's. I think it's an intelligence thing also because these people are not able to navigate the eddies and able to regulate their own emotions and able to. The big thing for me with these dissident guys that you're talking about is that these people don't understand or can't perceive or imagine a world before they were born, and are not able really to plan for 5 years away. Right? They can plan for 6 months away. They can't plan for 5 years away. I think that he and I think this is right. The only people that occupy that kind of dissident, cancelled sort of space that are able to think multi-decade strategically, just as an intellectual, at an intellectual level, but also, kind of have some sort of. I mean, we have very different areas of specialization and expertise, but his deep, excellent domain knowledge about a variety of different things as I do, and I don't see that very often in other dissident figures. I mean, they're like magpies. They fly around. They pick up. Magpies are birds that pick up anything shiny, like gold foil, and they take it back to the nest. And eventually, they fill the nest so much they push out their own chicks.
I just don't have any respect for these guys. Like to me,
no, because they're stupid. That's what I'm trying to get at. They're stupid, and so they've all gone crazy because
I respect the fact that they can say stupid and crazy things. Well,
I like saying stupid and crazy things, but
I respect I respect their right to say stupid and crazy things. But when you say that, I mean, the stuff some of these guys say is just so stupid and nuts that like they're almost like a zoo creature.
But
you're watching them like, what's he going to say next?
This is addict behavior. This is somebody who is, as you say, on the treadmill, who's chasing the high of being the whatever, I took 2 years out and disappeared from public life completely to go run a multi-billion-dollar multinational music and fashion brand because I had that ability, and he's much smarter than I am, but he similarly has. But we're able to kind of
do different things,
come back in patches, and do different things, come back in patches and deploy a little bit of whatever, and
not just be a provocateur.
Sometimes simply entertain ourselves, right?
Yep.
And I think probably that we're relatively unusual in that, but people who only live for that and only have that. I mean, once you start to get cut off from your audiences, once you start to get banned from things, I mean, your life is over. Your whole life can. I mean, Laura Loomer is really like the perfect example of this.
She has a senator on her. I don't know if she has a show or something, but I saw that a senator, or U.S. senator, is doing a thing with her.
Well, somebody I couldn't identify was recently retained by a very high-ranking member of the Trump campaign to sufficiently toxify her so that she Trump didn't have to get rid of her, but could say okay.
For a while, she was really kind of clingy.
Well,
to the president.
Trump has some shortcomings, and one of them is he's very bad at keeping he's a family guy, which is great in one sense, but also he just only half of his family is smart, the other half are actually sort of clinically retarded kind of level, just sort of and he employs them all equally anyway, and anybody who's really really complimentary and really really nice about him for a really really long time, he just loves them. He can't help it. It's a great shortcoming of his, and that's Laura Loomer, because it's all she had left. It's just turning people crazy, and I think because they had nothing else.
I mean, I don't mind Laura because at the end of the day, you've been involved with her way more than I ever have. But I think that at the end of the day, the thing I have trouble with is when you involve the race, the gender, these insane ideological ideas that are so far off the charts. Like, I mean, we all know the tropes. To me, it's just, I'm so turned off by that.
That sounds more like a class thing. I think you're finding it distasteful. I think it sounds, from the way that you've spoken about it this evening, it sounds to me less like a
maybe you're right.
less like that you find it impossible or illogical. I think that
some of them, yeah.
Sure, but I think for the most part you're being a snob, which is fine, which is good.
A little bit, but like someone like one of these guys who says, whites and blacks are of different intelligence. Well, that's a very complicated thing. It is. And it is stupid to say that out loud, socially. I don't think I believe it.
There's no way to say it in a sentence that encompasses the truth.
Right.
That's fair, right?
Right.
There's no way to say it in a sentence. There's possibly only a way to say it at book length.
Well, the Nobel Prize winner, Watson, got his Nobel Prize taken, his professorships, everything.
Right.
And what's crazy, and by the way, I think he's dead wrong, he is not backing down. He's tripled, quadrupled, 10x down on it, and his reasoning is the least scientific thing ever.
Well, he has
for the guy who discovered DNA, his reasoning is, did you ever work with a black person? It's like, that's it. I mean, that's your argument.
I mean, people get a bit. People kind of get a bit off the. They boil over when they get old.
I guess so, yeah.
My grandmother used to refer to her favorite.
Oh yeah, yes it did.
I know it didn't, but thanks for saying that. No, my grandmother was crazy by the end. She used to describe her favorite sweater as like nigger brown. I'm like, Mike, you can't say that. She was completely bonkers by the end. Just deep in the. They returned to the sort of atavistic horrors of childhood. You can't say that. I spent most of the last 2 years of my grandmother's life like talking to her. Please don't use these words to anyone else. Please don't say this.
I think Watson's been, I guess, a race intelligence, whatever he is, apostate, I guess.
He has no choice, though. I mean,
it's been like for 50 years. Like the guy's just like, I'm dying on this hill, and it's like, all right, dude.
Well, maybe there's something to it, then, Martin. I mean, he did discover. No, it's.
I think there's a difference between innate intelligence, like what you're capable of as a human, and then the settings you're put in can, like, for example, do you know the average IQ of Gaza, the Gazans, is very low?
I believe that.
But it's not because.
But there's all kinds of environmental things that feed into that.
It's hard to take an IQ test if you haven't been in school and stuff like that.
If you're not terribly literate, you can't do 3D rotation if you're not familiar with that. Right. No, that's
half the IQ test is word analogical reasoning, words, things like that. I mean,
right.
If there are no books around, I mean, what are you going to score 150? It doesn't make sense.
Right. And they're more worried about their dead amputated children at the moment. Somebody said, who was it that tweeted something crazy about that? Paul Graham.
Yes.
Who said that now it's the place with the most amputated children in the world. I'm like, well, if you discount Israel's other great export, transgenderism, and don't count all the kids with their cocks cut off in America. But
that's a big Kanye thing. The most amount of murders, child murders, is right here in America. Anyway.
I think we've discovered now that the only real female political of strong belief is the only priority that women have in the voting booth is, can I blend my baby?
I never really thought about abortion as sort of a white male until Kanye went on, either it was Lex or Tucker, and he showed a photo of an ultrasound, and he said, black people are murdering these these babies. And I sat there and said, if you think of it that way, it's really like.
But it's not black people; it's the women.
Not just black people.
But it's not black. It's
but
the women.
As a black man, he specifically sort of said
Right, because
black women, I guess.
I mean, it's especially bad because they have especially, I think it's fair to say, especially dissolute, degenerate culture in which a lot of unprotected, adulterous and fornicating and blah, 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 blah.
All right, next question.
What is your central message to students at Penn State?
Oh, boy. I got it. Easy.
Okay.
You got to think about yours.
Yes. Go ahead.
I would study statistics, computer science, math.
Change your major.
Definitely, study hard. You can get a lot out of college. I was a guy that loved college. I studied like crazy. There's my message is to be the best, most excellent student you can be. Get your money's worth. This is a great time to plot your future and be really successful. I think, being an iconoclast is great. I would yell at my professors. I once had a professor give me his resume. I think that, you have to stand out and be great. You're not going to be great just going to class and listening and doing nothing else. You have to go beyond that. You have to, just find a way to stand out. And people ask me all the time, how do I get to Wall Street, Martin? I started Wall Street when I was 16, and you have to stand out. Like, it's not enough to go take an economics class. You have to know every stock that's listed in America. Then somebody's going to notice you. Then you get a job. Then et cetera. And whatever field you're in, I only know, Wall Street, the markets, finance, stuff like that. But this could be music, anthropology, anything. And look at Kanye, right? I mean, he famously said 3 beats a summer, 3 beats a day for 6 summers, something like that. And I think that hard work is, I think institutions, not just Penn State, which is a great school, but every institution, they sort of coddle you into thinking, take this prescribed program, you're going to be great. And I think the average student's going to be very average, and nobody wants to be average. And I think even at Harvard, if you look at the average Harvard student, doesn't do that well in life. And it's, you have a Zuckerberg and you have a Pete Buttigieg or whatever his name is, and you've got, a couple of.
It's pronounced booty judge.
Thank you. And you have a few people that really are that do great, but you can be an outlier anywhere. Penn State's a great school, obviously. So I went to a city college, and I think that find a way to just be an outlier, and iconoclasm comes hand in hand with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna cop out slightly and just sort of offer a corollary to that, which is absolutely necessary for you to graduate from a university to succeed in the world, unless you are one of a tiny percent of a percent of a percent. I dropped out of college twice. The only reason I got away with it is because I got very lucky and because one of them was Cambridge, right? You must finish your degree. Don't fall on your sword. And the advice you get from a lot of other, and I've said various things on this topic in the past, so forget anything I've said in the past, listen to me now. Don't skip it, don't avoid it, don't get thrown out, don't get sent down, don't fall on your sword in some grand display of like free speech, whatever. I must call the professor a racial slur. I must prove with statistics that.
I think that's good advice. Focus on you.
But you will look. It is so rare, so unusual, and statistically, it's not going to be you. That not you in particular, but it is not going to be you that you manage to be one of the exceptions to the rule that fails out of education and manages to make something of yourself. It's not going to happen. To exist, to function, to get a job, and then to do the things you want to do, to disrupt this industry or to publish this world-changing book on whatever, you must operate within the system to change it. Historically, Muslim and Jewish attitudes to reform have been terrorism, have been destruction, have been unpicking and sabotaging. The Christian way to fix things is to work within the system to make modest minor adjustments, and if everybody's pushing in that way, then things basically are generally all right. And that's because Christians are civilization builders, and we want to be here for thousands of years, and we want the cathedral to still be standing, and we want this educational institution to still be here. And so, rather than blowing things up, or deconstructing them, or destroying their reputational prestige in public life. Christians work from within the system to do what they can to exert pressure to change the trajectory of those institutions and those professions that are going wrong. Right. So that's the best path for you and the best path for everybody else too.
Last thing I'd say is like, don't be like Milo. Don't drink. Don't do drugs during college. Like, this is your time to be you. Like, this is your time to like be the different iconoclast that does great things. Partying is not what college is for.
No, and
partying and sex are terrible, horrible things.
Yes, of course. No, I got very, very lucky. Most people, but there are a lot of people with a smart mouth around who know a lot, who are not me and don't live, and don't own castles, and like there's lots of people who do not have anything, who are just that funny gay guy that I know, right? And the chances are that you will end up like that if you don't, pursue your education and excel at it.
Unfortunately, we only have about 5 minutes left, so this is going to be our last question.
Tell us,
of
not
the
them.
evening.
We're the ones rambling.
Well, yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay, Milo.
Milo, you made a joke earlier about how during your spiel about the right-wing personality sort of going crazy, you made a joke that free speech was invented by you and Steve Bannon.
Oh, well, of course it's not invented by us. What I meant simply was that in 2015, we were on the Mercer's yacht, super yacht, the Sea Owl, $8 million a year just to keep it seaworthy. Isn't that crazy? And we were devising something that would be particularly damaging to the left that I could go and do on college campuses. So we decided free speech was going to be it. But having won that and used that successfully to propel Trump into office, I kind of felt like people would move on, and people are still talking about it, and it's very, very boring. And that's really what I meant.
So I guess it's not like a.
I'm aware that I did not invent free expression. I'm cognizant
no, I meant
of
like
that.
It's sort of like a thing that you kind of used.
I think it's
It was true and real and urgent and necessary and virtuous, but it was also in tandem with that was strategically chosen to be effective.
I think it's like the anti-woke movement, where we were some of the first people saying, hold on, stop the presses, this is virtue signaling, anti-woke has to go. And then Vivek writes, literally like Woke Inc., the book, and I'm like, it's over. This is the top. I just kind of look at everything through a market perspective.
Right.
Once the consensus has been like, oh, woke sucks.
And the consensus on free speech happened in 2016. That was the result of that election.
So yes and no. Like, it's dragged out because like today you cannot on YouTube find Trump Rogan.
But that's not,
they basically killed it.
Is that a free speech issue? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But also there are but also that interview has had 30, 40 million views by now, I guess.
People found it.
And more people are talking about how you can't find it on YouTube than people who can't find it on YouTube. Right. So for that reason, I think that it's a moot issue, and the reason that I cut him off about free speech earlier is all the same thing.
Even though I disagree,
I think it's done.
I think your point is like me, like for woke. If you're early to trends, the second that other people catch on to the trends, like a rock band or something, you're like, oh yeah, they were cool last album, now they're mainstream.
I think you and I have a short attention span with this stuff. So as soon as other people are like, oh yeah, I'm instantly bored of it. I'm sick of it. And I have been.
It's literally not attractive anymore if other people.
No. We have this in common. I'm so sick of free speech. I'm like, please give me some fucking blasphemy law, for God's sake. Literally, give me some. I'm just so sick of the subject. But no, it was necessary and it was important. It was real. It was true. But there's a few things we could have chosen. We just chose the best one. When we were deciding what I would raise hell about on campus.
Sort of.
I interrupted you twice. That might not have been your question.
No, you're kind of making it. When you were sort of joking about it glibly at a thing called Uncensored America, it's a little seeming.
Yeah, it's a bit dated. We should change this. Sean, this is not exactly bleeding edge anymore. I think we need to. I don't know what we call it. Well, I'll come up with something new for you. Okay.
And I guess describing it as sort of like the strategy going forward in order to I guess make the Mercers the most money or move the needle the most is sort of along the protesters' thing of sort of, do you actually believe any of the things you're sort of?
Well, I think smart people do things for multiple reasons, and and I think you can do the right, virtuous, good, and true thing, and the thing that serves and suits you, and that's what I've always sought to do, and I've done very well out of that. And other people have benefited enormously from it too, because I pretty much single-handedly killed feminism in 2015. You don't hear about campus rape culture or the wage gap anymore. That's because of me. And you just don't hear it. You heard it every day for years. I decided to address that subject because I thought it was a good subject for me.
Where did Me Too go?
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Somewhere. So you're fucking welcome. So it's possible to do good for you and others at the same time, and I've always sought to do that, and no shame in admitting that. Other people have benefited enormously from my selfishness.
I guess it's not grifting because you're.
I think grifting means. I think grifting means. I can't believe he gets paid to do that. I would never be able to get paid to do that. Whereas I get paid enormous amounts of money to do almost nothing, and so it's nice work if you can get it. Well, I can and you can't. Sorry. So if that's grifting, then sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of what Milo and I have done has been more self-sacrificial than anything else.
I mean, look, I could have had a much different and much more prestigious and much better paid career. If I had wanted it quite easily, and I know exactly how I would have done it. But
my lawyers told me a million times, you don't have to go to jail. Just say you're sorry, and you disavow capitalism. You're a communist now. It's all good.
Right. I mean, he could have done a million things. I think that there is great heroism in not doing that. Make them take the Wu-Tang album. Make them take it.
You could have become a Washington Post journalist.
Look, it's
New York Times.
More than capable of doing anything professionally in commentary that I wanted to do, up to and including having a late night show. I could have done any of those things. They were offered to me with various strings attached, and I said no. You could have, but for all that you and I could have excused ourselves from these supposed consequences. I wouldn't change anything about the way that I've done things, and I not to put words in your mouth, but I'm guessing from the way that you've spoken to me about jail that you are in some way at least enriched by it.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't change a thing either. No.
And that's a really great place to end. And I just want to say that I would correct Milo respectfully and say that Milo. And Martin, they made it easier for us. They were the trendsetters, and Uncensored America is still very, very relevant. So
you're their lawyer, aren't you?
I am their lawyer.
No, listen. Just look. We might. Maybe we'll keep the branding, but maybe this word will change at various things, or maybe it will just get funnier and funnier as we do anti-free speech. We'll just become we'll become like a reactionary religious. We're becoming a reactionary religious organization promoting blasphemy law, and we'll be called Uncensored America because we're tired of religious authorities being censored. So I want the right to say that you shouldn't be able to talk. So I think my first. I became president of Gavin McInnes's network. And my first act was to tell them all the things they weren't allowed to say on air anymore at censored.tv.
Right. Well, I thank you to our guests, Milo and Martin. Everybody, please, a round of applause. Thank you to Sean Semenko and all of Uncensored America. And thank you to all of you guys for standing up for free speech on college campus. We saw tonight, we had a perfect demonstration of why this is necessary and why it's so important. It's outrageous what we saw tonight with these students, and and you guys are really the antidote to that. So keep up the fight. So thank you very much, and everybody have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Milo and Martin. Let's everybody give a big round of applause. If you want to follow these guys, there's only one place you can do now. X, John, @John_Gross, @Nero, @Martin Shkreli, and @Uncensored America. If you guys are here for the backstage meet and greet or the dinner, please come up here at the end, and we'll do that. Thank you guys. Have a great night.